stick to topic. We're looking at education, economic development, safety, and housing as our four main topics this evening. So again, education, economic development, housing, and safety as topics we're looking to focus on this evening. I want to again thank our candidates coming tonight, Mark Career, Sean Malik, Keith Mills, Terry Mosley, Josh Schaefer, Marco Somerville, and Jeff Wilhite. We are going to give them 2 minutes to answer each question. We'll start off with a little softball here, give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. We'll stick to that 2-minute time here. And again, we'll have folks walking around, so if you've got a question, please wave us down so that we can make sure we get your question in the hopper and put it to our fine candidates. So I also want to acknowledge those individuals who are running for other elected positions here in the city. We are going to have time at the end. I think we're going to try to stop around 7:30. We've got a call till 8, but that'll give you all an opportunity to mingle and mix, and we'll also give our other candidates an opportunity to connect with their constituents. Friends, if I missed anything, I do want to thank St. Sebastian's for allowing us to use City Hall this evening. Again, we had kicked some little ones out, including my daughter, who was here at aftercare, but they left willingly, so that was hard. Alan, are we good to go? Okay, so we're going to this evening start off. Jeff, we're going to start with you, take question 1, and then we're just going to work our way down to question 2, 3, and work our way back around, all right? So I think our first this evening then is just an opportunity, 2 minutes, intro, give the crowd a little introduction to who you are and what you're looking to bring to the city.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to, first of all, thank the Block Clubs for putting this event on. This is what Akron is all about. Neighborhoods coming together and looking for answers and participating in how the city is going to look going forward with our entire community. So thank you for putting this event on. I said one of the important things I think is going to help the city move forward is if we have input from block clubs. I'd like to see block clubs expand even more into all wards across the city, being very active, because you guys know what you need and want in your community. And hearing from you going forward is what the next mayor absolutely has to pay attention to. So my name is Jeff Wilhite. I currently am executive director of a program called Family Promise. We help homeless families with children get into sustainable housing. Housing is a very, very big component of my campaign. Something I'm very passionate about: affordable housing, equitable housing across the city. I also serve on Summit County Council, representing District 4, and been in that role for 6 years. So again, it's my pleasure to be here, and I look forward to your questions tonight. Thank you so much.
Good evening. So glad to see so many people out in this wet weather. My name is Marco Somerville, and I am a proud resident of Akron, Ohio. My wife and I raised 3 children here. All 3 went to historic black colleges. All are very successful. Thank God for them. I live in my basement. So we're happy about that. We also would like to say that I started a successful business here in this community. I've had the pleasure to serve as Ward 3 councilman, president of Akron City Councilman, and elected for 13 years as the president of that body, selected by my peers. I've also served as planning director. I served as deputy mayor for the city of Akron. And through all those experiences, I have learned one thing: to listen to the community, listen to their concerns. When I usually listen to their concerns, we go back, we come up with a detailed plan how to handle those issues. And my priorities are your priorities. We want to make sure that Akron is an affordable city for all seniors and families. We want to make sure that we have a police department that has equitable justice. We We want to make sure we work with workforce development, make sure that our schools are safe. We want to modernize city services, and we also want to make sure that we fight for every neighborhood, whether that's in DC or in Columbus. And thank you very much for coming out today.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Josh Schaefer. Thanks so much for having us. I'm the most progressive candidate for mayor, and I have a 15-year history in the private sector with a Bachelor of Science in Political Science, a minor in Criminal Justice, a minor in Psychology, and a Certificate of Applied Politics from the University of Akron, where I interned for Senator Sherrod Brown, and I also did an international internship in Jerusalem, Israel, with an interfaith sustainability organization. So this election, 71% of people say that they want fresh new ideas. So if you're looking for fresh ideas, I'm your candidate. So let's get started on a thriving new green jobs economy. Let's get started on replacing lead pipes. Let's get started on reforesting new lands with cleaner air, cleaner water. So if you want a clean environment and you want fresh ideas, then let's get started. Voting for me will be a breath of fresh air.
Well, good evening, Akron residents. My name is Tara Mosley, but you can just call me Tara. I have proudly served this community as the Ward 5 Councilwoman for 3 terms, and I have proudly lived here my entire life. I have 5 adult children and 12 grandchildren, believe it or not. I am running because I listen to my residents. I come from a very unique position as the Ward 5 representative. My ward touches the entire city except for West Akron. The beauty about West Akron is most of my family lives in West Akron. So I started North Hill, I come through downtown Akron, I cut through East Akron, I have a portion of South Akron. So my ward is the community. And because I listened to them, I was able to say to them, I wanted to be their mayor. And they were okay with that. And that was the hardest decision for me to make. My family was okay with it, but I wanted the residents who have sent me back 3 terms to represent them to be okay with it as well. I am running because our neighborhood needs someone who cares about them. Our neighborhood has been forgotten. And we need someone who's going to listen and lead at the same time. I truly believe that I am that person. I have spent my time in these neighborhoods, in these communities, because my ward is the most impoverished part of the city. And I know what's missing because I'm there with them every single day. The first thing we have to do is address public safety. We cannot build a strong community if we do not have safe neighborhoods. And those are the 2 things that I'm running, and all those things work if we deal with mental health and addiction first. I know that's not one of the things we're running on, but we cannot forget about the mental health and addiction going on in our community. And those are the reasons that I'm running, and hope to have your support. Thank you.
And an investor. A lot of things kind of brought me here. I did run for city council about 12 years ago. Then I kind of, went on my private life. Little voice in my head said, hey, things haven't changed. I drive down the same roads that you drive down. I see the same things that I've seen since I was a little kid. Roads still tore up. People still struggle with, paying mortgages, paying rent. Kids still getting in trouble. Those are things I want to combat. Those are things I want to look at, those are things I want to fix. I keep on telling people that I'm not necessarily interested in being mayor, I'm interested in fixing our problems. While some people say change, that's the only reason I'm here, is to change our problems, fix our problems, change our situation. So please consider me as your new mayor. I have things on my website, mayoral.com. I'm pretty open. You got my card, my flyer, my phone number on there. I literally, it goes right to my pocket. That's the kind of person I'm going to bring to office. You call the mayor's office, you're going to get an answer. You're not going to get just ghosted. And, sometimes I won't have the answer, but I'll find it for you. We need transparency. We also need safety. But I think with communication and transparency being first, we can have everything else fall in line. So please consider me for your next mayor, and thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful spring day. But I really appreciate everyone being here participating in this process. We've been doing a lot of these forums. My name is Shamus Malik. I was born and raised here in Akron. My mom raised me and my brother here. I went to Firestone. I left for college and law school. But I moved home because I wanted to serve the community that made such a difference in my life, the same community that my mom served as a teacher at Akron U. I'm only standing up here before you because of the education that I got in our public schools, right? And I love this city so much. We have so much opportunity, but we have got to change the way things are going. We have to create a shared vision for our future. So they mentioned 4 issues we're going to talk about tonight. I'm really glad about that because those are the 4 issues that we are centering our Together for Akron vision around. Safety, so more proactive policing when it comes to foot patrols that people have been asking for decades. And also making sure that we're investing in youth violence prevention, taking our community learning centers and really opening them up so that on evenings and weekends we are connecting young people to resources, right? When it comes to housing, we have to prioritize infill development instead of just building on the outskirts of the town. We have hundreds and thousands, really, of parcels that the city of Akron owns all throughout the city that we could be prioritizing for boosting our neighborhoods that have seen a lot of deterioration. And then education, I mentioned the CLCs, but also pre-K is a huge part of that. And then finally, when it comes to economic development, there's so many things we need to do, but we have to take out the barriers that are keeping people from working. So people say people don't want to work. It's because there isn't affordable and accessible childcare. So those are the things I'm going to focus on, but most of all, I want to create a city government that is open and collaborative and listening to people. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. My name is Mark Greer. I am a proud West Side Akronite, and I really am grateful to be standing here on this stage and having the opportunity to speak with all of you. I'm a pastor's son. My dad came out of high school and went to work in Firestone and later in Goodyear Aerospace. And I'm running this race because I know that Akron is calling for change. But in order to see change happen, I believe that you have to change where you are first before you can ever aspire to change what needs to be changed for all of Akron at City Hall. And that's what I've done. As the city's Great Streets Administrator and later as the Small Business Program Manager, I had the privilege to work in neighborhoods throughout Akron. One of them here in my home area of West Akron on Copley Road. I looked at Copley Road and I listened to the people that I spent day after day with. I spoke with the block clubs. I worked with the Delia Estates Block Club, the Dorchester Block Club, with the Orlando Block Club, with the Maple Valley Merchants Association. We cleaned up trash on Copley Road. Over the years since August of 2020, we've removed 6,000 pounds of trash. We put a new park that was a vacant lot for years on the corner of Copley and Ritchie Avenue. Because I said, all of our forgotten neighborhoods have value, and I realized that my job was to help every neighborhood tell their own story. So today, I'm running to fight to tell the story for every Akronite, and that every one of us deserves the change we've been waiting for, and I am the candidate who will make that happen.
Thank all of our candidates. Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause. Now, let's give yourself a round of applause for being here. Go loud. That's good. Folks, this is your meeting. This is your opportunity to get educated about which form our next mayor will come. So if you have any questions, we beseech you, write your questions down so we can try our best to get them answered. Without further ado, let's get this party started. This is a question for all of our candidates. As it's been stated, they have 2 minutes to respond. We're going to start to my right, your left, with Jeff Wilhite with this question, and then we'll move down the line with each candidate having 2 minutes to respond. The question reads as follows. What would you do to bring big business to this area to keep our young people here?
That's a great question. The first thing I would do is work to retain the businesses we already have. We have a very, very strong core of businesses here in Akron and in the region. That's absolutely critical. We need to expose the great things that are going on here so that our young people understand that the opportunities for them are great and they're right here in the city. We drive by our businesses every day. We don't know what's going on inside those businesses. There's some amazing stuff going on. High-tech things, activities where folks build things with their hands and create products. And it can't all be retail. We have to have a strong manufacturing base. We have to be focused on telling our story, not only to the world, but to all of us, so that wherever you go, you're ambassadors for our community and for our business community to let folks know this is a great place to do business. Once we do that, once we tell our story and tell it well, you're going to attract folks here because they're going to want to know why things are going so well. And how do we become a part of the great things that are going on in Akron. Workforce development, absolutely critical to help bring new businesses in. Being able to create incentives that allow businesses to be competitive, especially in a post-COVID world where staffing is a whole new challenge. Making sure that those businesses have the ladies and gentlemen here to be able to continue the work that they do on a regular basis. Priority 1, business retention, promoting business here, and then also from that, we'll be able to attract new and better and stronger and bigger businesses.
I think it's important that we also make sure we retain the businesses that we have, but there's still a lot of opportunities here in this community for young people to get work. One is in the unions, the carpenters union. I would use that for an example. You can go through a 4-year program at the carpenters union, and it won't cost you any money at all. And at the end of those 4 years, you'll be 3 credits short of getting a college degree with no debt. So I think that's one way that we need to look at and push our young people in that direction. And of course, we have the electrical unions and other unions that have opportunities too. We also, from the city level, have to go out and attract businesses to come into the city of Akron. But we got to make sure we have strong schools. We got to make sure the city is safe. And one of the things that we need to do is do international travel to get business to come here. We've done that before. Rushlin is here. They're on Cleveland Madison Road, and they provide 300 jobs. And we need to look at 3 countries that have the ability of bringing businesses here to Akron. And 3 of those businesses are Lithuania, Slovenia, and Israel. And all 3 of those countries have just been here. And we're working with them to make sure that when they expand, because that's where the cradle of innovation is coming out. Of those 3 countries around the world, we're going to bring those countries here to Akron and make them set up shop, have a business, and hire our own people, and make sure that we keep those jobs here. We also have the Intel project in Columbus, too. Another great project that we can piggyback off of that to grow this area, to grow this community.
Could you say your name again, please?
Marco Somerville.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I'm all about having young people stay in Akron, but I don't think that big business is the way to do it. I think that small businesses that are women and minority and immigrant owned, that's the way that we're going to lift up our communities. That's the way that we're going to start jobs. I'm the only one talking about, forget about 15 years of free taxes for rich people. How about 5 years of free taxes for any student that leaves the University of Akron and wants to stay in Akron, whether it's work or whether it's live in Akron, we should be giving those people the tax breaks to offset their student loans. And then finally, I'm the only person here talking about a thriving new green jobs economy. We're going to get people to work building solar panels. We're going to get people to work building wind turbines. We're going to get people to work
children who they're raising up to run these businesses for them. So we need to make sure they're able to sustain while they're here. One thing that we know is going to happen is the Great Migration. The southwest part of our country is drying up. We have a natural resource that many don't have, and it's called water. And they will move here, and they will set up shop here. But before that happens, we have to take care of home first. If you look on our website at mosleypremier.com, we have an extensive plan about taking care of home first, making sure when our entrepreneurs need resources, that they're available for them. When our small businesses need resources, they're available for them. And this is not about free. People hear resources and they think you just want to give away free things. Sometimes it's just the support. They need someone to help them write a business plan so they can walk into a bank who says that they want to help people in our community, and that's why they're here. But they need to be able to do that. So they need to have the resources in order to do that. So for me, I want to take care of home first, and we'll worry about the secondaries going to other places secondary.
So I want to point out, Josh has said that before about the taxes. If you do graduate from the University of Akron, which I did twice, then maybe you get a tax. That's a pretty good deal because my student loans, like $420 a month. Okay, and that's a good chunk of money. Okay, so I want to give props to Josh for that. That's pretty good. He has said it before. He didn't make it up. So that is something that if I was elected, I would carry over. That's a really good idea. Now, attracting big businesses and keeping them here, that's one thing, but you have to think about what are we actually keeping the workers here? What are they getting? Are they getting, what about the schools? How are schools, as you know, APS has a lot of issues with report cards, if you look it up. Also, and we do need to take a look at our small business. Small businesses make community. So it's a tougher thing to answer than 2 minutes that I'm given. You really sit down, now 1 minute. You have to sit down and actually think about what keeps people here in the community. You have people working at, Firestone, R&D. They're making pretty good money. They're not necessarily staying here. They're leaving. How do you know they come and commute? So you need to think about what actually, city services would make somebody want to stay. Also, propping up or helping with businessmen, like, for our, small businesses. When you go to banks, they don't necessarily want to help you. Unless you have everything put together. It's really hard to do anything when you're a small business. So we want, I want to help you get past that first year, second year, to make them stick. The first 2 years is always the roughest for a small business. So, but in closing, it's a very complicated process to get people who want to stay here and then attract, big businesses. I don't know if we need to go flying around the world to do that though. But, thank you.
So we have amazing businesses in Akron. We have amazing small, medium, and global businesses. Gojo helped the entire world get through the pandemic, and they're just in downtown Akron. But when we look at asking businesses to invest in Akron, I have watched our city struggle my whole life. I have watched people and my classmates leave our city my whole life. We are not going to move forward as a community until we tackle the reasons people are leaving, which is safety and our schools. And until we do that, we will not be able to fly around the world and get folks to come and invest in our community. So what does that mean, safety and education? I talked about it a little bit in the intro. But we have these plans in Akron. In 2018 and 2019, a lot of different organizations in our community spent a year doing what Keith said, taking the time to put together that strategic plan. And those groups have not met since. And so the city has now, 2 years, 3 years after the fact, started moving forward with that plan. But we have to get away from this perspective where we create a plan and then when the next crisis happens, we move on to the next plan. We have to say these are the priorities, the basic things in our community, safety, education, that we are going to, as a whole community, not just city government, in a collaborative way, not in a top-down way, which is typically how city governments work, but in a collaborative way, we are, as a whole community, going to come together around these issues. And then we can work on selling businesses from all around the country to come. But, there are folks who, are going to be moving from the Southwest. But if we don't get our issues under control, they're going to go to Columbus, and they're going to go to Chicago. So we have to focus on the very, very basic things as a community. Thank you.
So I think it's a good thing that it's not an either or. When we talk about prioritizing and attracting big business here to Akron, well, strengthening our small business community will actually make that happen. Small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy, and big businesses love to come to areas with a thriving economic landscape, and that is built upon small businesses. That's the work that I specialized in over the past several years. And when we look at Akron, yeah, we have to sell Akron to other businesses out there, but before we sell it to people on the outside, we've got to make sure we sell it to those here. Because we had a poll that came out that said 20% of Akronites are thinking about leaving. That means we have a lot of work to do right here in Akron to show that this is a place where not only you want to come, but it's a place that you want to stay. It's a place that if you were born and raised here, you want to put down roots and invest in ourselves. So until we as a city start investing in the neighborhood business corridors to the extent that they need to be invested in, look, I grew up off of Copley Road. I know what Copley Road looked like 35 years ago. From the Lantern Restaurant to the Dairy Queen, which I went to almost every day after school at Area Island, to Milton Shoes. And then I look today, and I see the east side of Copley Road have more vacant lots than businesses. How do we expect big business to come from the outside into Akron when we're not even investing in our own business corridors here within Akron? We're going to have to put our money where our mouths are and invest in the forgotten neighborhoods that have been overlooked for far too long. That's what I will do as mayor.
Thank you all. Next question has to do with small businesses. With so much development going on in Akron, how do you plan to include diverse-owned businesses and small businesses in positions to compete for economic inclusion? We'll start with Mr.
Well, it's always hard, for a small business to get a foothold. I think about the fact of just not too long ago, I sit down with some individuals and told them that we would be tearing down 500 homes a year in the city of Akron. So what we did, we put a business plan together for this young man. We got him to bond it. He figured out how much it was going to cost to tear those houses down. So now he has a business. Now he hires some people. So now he's a business and he's doing a good job. But the thing that we didn't understand was the fact that he went into that type of business, the people who had been in the demolition business on all the places where he had to dump after he tore it down. And what they did, they raised the fees up because a black person got the contract. And there was no place for him to take the buildings that he tore down. There was nothing he could do. And every time he did a project, he lost money. So what I did, I was playing rich at the time, and what I did, I stopped giving him the contracts so it would not hurt his body. Because that's a major thing that you can't lose if you're a small business. And I put the bond, I put those bids back on the market, and the people who had them last time reapplied and they got it. But that was the problem that they had. They had the equipment, they had the bonding, but the part where they had to dump it was a problem, and he had to go out of business, unfortunately. But those are the kind of things that happen when you have a small business. We have to try to find ways to overcome those kind of problems.
Woo! Well, this is a little bit of a repeat from my answer to the last question. I'm going to have this thriving green jobs economy, but I want it to be small business. I want it to be black-owned and immigrant-owned and women-owned small businesses, because when we build our city from the bottom up, then we can bring in, like others have said, then we can start bringing in bigger businesses. So that's part jobs economy is going to be really important, and it's going to help really make Akron thrive again.
I said before, our small businesses, they need our support, and they've not gotten that. Okay, good. Okay. So just expanding on what I previously said, our small businesses need our support. There have been so many businesses in our community that were thriving, that were doing great things, and they didn't have the support. I mean, for instance, I could talk about all the businesses up and down Washington Street that could have done well, but instead people off the top over there doing great things. But that's because she has a support system. But it doesn't mean that she doesn't need other resources. We had the Blue Note, which was down the street on County Road. If they would have had the support, I think they would have been able to survive down there. This has to come back to us giving our small businesses, large, medium, and small, the support. Our entrepreneurs, they need the support. And it's not happening. So we as a city, we have to be intentional. We have to get rid of all the red tape that they put in place so people can't get the funding, which happens every single year. Entrepreneurs can't get funding because they don't have a paid employee, or maybe their family member is helping them. They can't put in an application and get awarded those grant funds because they don't have a track record. Well, they start with us and have a track record, and that's what we've not done as a city, and it's what our administration will do. We will make sure that those entrepreneurs, those small businesses, and have the resources and support, and doors won't be slammed in their faces.
I'm going to piggyback off of that, and just from also personal experience, you can't always go to the bank and get a loan. I've really always had problems with banks. My dad has a good saying, "Depending on how hard they are." Yes. So that's the truth. It's the truth. So for us in my administration, we have as a enterprise development loan. That's something I can take a look at, and pretty much we give loans to small businesses to help them get through. I want to provide gap loans, and so if say you have a certain amount of money and you need a certain amount of money to meet overhead, you can come to us and we can see what we can do. We're not going to leave you out in the cold. You're just as important to us, as you are as a regular citizen. So I want transparency there. Also want to take something like recently happened in Cleveland, Shaker Square. The city council provided a $6 million loan. Of course, they won't pay back, but they made it so it would not just go vacant, go belly up. There's a lot of different things that I have, cooking in the background to make things work, to make sure that our small businesses are, viable. And they don't just go on. So take that into consideration, but I think that's about it. Provide as much help as I can.
So the city has a really big tool when it comes to supporting small and minority-owned businesses, right? There's the amount of money that the city spends on contracts every year, right? Immense amount of money. You and Mike are reading in the Akron Beacon Journal about it, right? And consulting agreements, these special services agreements, we spent over $100 million over the last 2 years. Now, one of the things that people are talking about is who they're going to. That to me is less the question. The question is these special services agreements are no-bid contracts, right? And so these are opportunities that minority-owned businesses and small businesses that may not have a foothold, they might be able to get a foothold with a small city contract. Instead, we've been so used to using kind of who we've always used and who we've always trusted, which I understand, but it is a old and outdated way of thinking that is not leveraging the amount of money that we have that we could be using directly as a city government. From there are many other ways of supporting, and Mark is going to tell you about the Great Streets program that he ran, so I'm not going to steal that thunder. But I work with him in the We have amazing small businesses in the Mayoral Valley. Every neighborhood deserves that kind of support, so we should expand Grace Street. But we should also make sure that the services that a 1 or 2 or 3 person business can't afford, the marketing services, things like that, that we're able to help provide them. Because those can really make the difference. And really, we realized the marketing that was needed for one Maryland Valley business was very similar to the marketing that was needed for another Maryland Valley business, right? So they could collaborate and partner on those things. So I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, but the most basic thing is we have to do a better job in the money that we as a city spend to support our local businesses.
So my platform calls for expanding the Great Street vision citywide, because I believe that wherever small businesses reside, we should be helping. That's what I did during my time at the city of Akron. Look, I would have people in this room would refer small business owners to me. Oftentimes they weren't in a Great Street area, but I wanted to always be the resource and the person that I wish I would have had when I was coming up and trying to get my own business started. So what I would do is, no matter where they came from, I was going to make sure that I connected them with the person, with the organization, with the resources, near or far, that they needed in order to make their business work and have it thrive. But look, we as a city, we have to make sure that we are committed to our small businesses as much as they are committed to our city and our people. We had $145 million in ARPA money come in, and only $1 million went to small business owners in direct payments. And that's less than the $1.3 million that we paid our consultants to tell us how we should spend all of that money. That's not good enough. This is the kind of change I'm talking about. If we're not actually doing what is required, then we're just playing with smoke and mirrors. In my administration, I am going to make you this pledge. We will be the small business administration that Akron has been waiting for. We will help small businesses near and far, wherever they are. We will make sure that you get the attention, the resources, and the support that you deserve and that our communities cannot live without.
Well, there's a lot of ideas up here. A lot of people talk about what they will do and what we should do. Over the course of the pandemic, while on Summit County Council, we approved over $12 million to keep small businesses open during the crisis. That's real activity going right to people who needed the assistance. But all of the programs that we talk about are very important. But ladies and gentlemen, each of us in this room has a responsibility for small businesses. Think about it. Somebody takes the step and wants to start a new business. It is scary because, oh my gosh, will I pay the light bill? Will I pay my mortgage? Will I pay my employees? It's a very, very tough road to go. We, as members of the community, need to pay attention to that. We're the economic engine that's going to make things happen. Not a list of federal programs or state programs. All of us, our dollars and cents go into those ladies and gentlemen in business. They get to their shop, they get to their business, they turn the lights on in the morning, and we drive by. Can we stop them? Can we stop them? On Amazon-style business model that we to make sure that we celebrate the businesses that are in this community so that we all know what's going on in this community, and we make sure that those ladies and gentlemen get our dollars into their business so that they can thrive and go on. Programs like the MCAP program at the Urban League, helping minority-owned businesses, minority, women-owned, LGBTQ-owned businesses. Those kinds of things are important. But if we don't call them, pick up the phone and say, I need you, they're never going to make it.
Next question, we'll start out with Joshua Schaefer first. It's from the category of education, and it reads as follows. The state of the city's educational system is on everyone's mind. What role, if any, should the city government in general and the mayor in particular play in trying to influence education, policies, and decisions publicly as well as privately?
Well, I think education is very important. Look, I have a baby girl and she's going to be going to schools in a few years, right? And we live in the North High School area, one of the only schools that has yet to be renovated. So I think the community learning center is a good idea. I agree with others who have said they'd like to see the community learning centers used for the community, right? That makes sense. Also, I really would push hard to have mental health providers in every single school, multiple providers in multiple schools. Is the mic off? So what I was saying is that I'd like to see more mental health providers in our schools. I hate to say this because it really breaks my heart. We need metal detectors in the schools, but we need to make sure that our children are following the new guidance from the American Pediatric Association and getting mental health exams on an annual basis at school so that we can help children grow into professional young adults. Thank you.
I think we have to have a good relationship as the mayor with not only the superintendent but with the school board as well. So when we are facing a crisis, which we just had, almost had our teachers go on strike, we need a mayor who can listen to all sides and then to collectively make decisions that benefit our children. I think that has to happen in order for all the infighting that we all witnessed to not happen. You have to have a strong relationship with all parties involved, or we're going to be right back where we were. And the first thing we have to do, and the one thing that has concerned me as we have these forums is we always start at the top. We want to worry about those relationships between the superintendents and the school board and the mayor. But the most important thing is our children. And that's where it has to start. We have to make sure that our children are in safe learning environments, healthy, positive, nurturing learning environments. And that's not happening right now. We have kids who want to learn, but they may be afraid of a kid in their classroom. Maybe they're being bullied. We have to make sure that those resources are there so those things are tapped into, and then maybe we wouldn't have had to have metal detectors going into our schools. They're not safe. Our teachers don't feel safe. The kids don't feel safe. So we have to start there with our kids. Yes, we have personality conflicts with elected officials and superintendents, but if we do not focus on these kids, our population will continue to dwindle. People will move their children out of our school system, and they're going to move them into, hate to say it, we don't want that to happen. They're going to be sitting in charter schools, and we don't need that to happen. So we have to start at the beginning with our children in a learning environment that is safe, not only for them, but for the teachers who are teaching them.
So where do I even start? As you know, I'm a teacher. I cannot tell you how many times that we place in lockdown. And it's a very complicated situation and answer. You can't just say start with the kids. It's yes but no. Yes and no. It's very complicated. We were placed, all right, should I start with the Kia boys, trying to break into the teachers' cars, trying to boost them, trying breaking windows all around LED, try talk about how, one kid, a student of mine, he was the getaway driver, another kid took his gun out, ended a whole clip while I was upstairs trying to make copies for my English class. Where do you even start? But, out in public where, people are bickering back and forth about the school board and all that, you shouldn't be doing that. It might drive some kind of conversation, what does it really get? What does it really get? So you need to have a very good, working relationship with your school board. I don't know why you publicly try to air your dirty laundry, so to speak. Okay? You need to have, I'd like to have, if I'm looking mayor, meetings, monthly with the school board and see where our rec department could close gaps. We can help provide some mental health services. I can tell you that the mental health services at my school, we can offer 2 services, that's it. If you have no insurance, they can't offer you no more help. 2 times, that's it. So there's a huge gap there, huge gap. And then that's a fact. So how can we as a city help that and fix that and make sure that those gaps are closed? Kids, yes, but it's a bigger societal issue that we're facing that we have to combat. So as the mayor, I want to focus on how can we, as a city, as the mayor's office, close some of those gaps and be an ally to Akron Public Schools and make sure that everyone feels safe.
I mentioned before that I'm standing in front of you because of the public education I got in our Akron Public Schools. But when I look at what kids these days have to deal with, it really, really scares you. The city has an important role. We do not run the schools. We do not run what happens in the classroom. But we help build the schools. And we have to be a partner with the school district. And so Tara is right. When trust issues happen, when there is turbulence in the community, the mayor has to be the convener and bring folks together and say, we are going to sit around this conference room and we are going to figure out a solution that we can all agree upon. And to do that, there has to be trust, right? And trust requires you to have difficult conversations, both publicly and privately. So over the last year and a half, when there have been issues with the superintendent and the school board, I've had those conversations publicly and privately. Every month, as the Ward 8 council member, we have a board meeting, and we have a representative from the school board there to talk about things, whether it's good things or bad things. Sometimes it's been pictures of kids with guns and fire school. Sometimes it's been amazing accomplishments by our students, right? But every month we are there having the conversations, building trust. Now I talked a little bit before about the importance of opening up our CLC buildings, because that's another place where the city can play an important role. We help build these buildings, and we have a responsibility to help make sure every young person is connected to an extracurricular that will ground them. When I talk about foot patrols for safety, if you have an officer walking up and down the block on Copley Road before and after school lets out, you feel safer sending your kids to school. And finally, what I would say is as a major level, we have to go to universal pre-K as a community. And this will require the city and every partner investing and making sure that we're investing in our kids at an earlier and earlier age to give them the opportunity to succeed.
So we have, as a city, we have a responsibility to every student, to every family, to make sure that our schools are set up for success for all of them. Look, we just witnessed a historic success when our Bookville 1040 Griffs and our Golden Knights. It's the city of champions here, but look, Bookville High School on Copley Road, where I grew up, a state-level sports program, and those young men do not have lights on their field. That means that they can't do home games on their own field at night because you couldn't see. Is that the message that we are giving our students? That even though you exceed and excel and are champions, that we don't think enough to give you the investment that your school and your neighborhood and community deserve. We as a city owe it to all of our schools in every neighborhood to make sure that we have equitable distribution of resources. And as mayor, I'm going to stand up for every school and make sure that our students don't get shortchanged based on where they live. We have to make sure that we keep the promise of Akron as a city, which should be to educate every student to the fullest extent of not only our ability, but their potential. I'm going to work to ensure that happens.
Well, we all know that there are two distinct bodies. The Board of Education is responsible for the schools, and the mayor is responsible for the city. But there has to be a relationship between both of honesty, integrity, and transparency. And the most important part of this equation that I think we oftentimes overlook is our children are smarter than we ever give them credit for. They know when we care. They know when there's issues that they face with every day. When they arrive at the school, sometimes that's the safest place that they can be in. Not all schools are safe, but sometimes that's the safest place they can be in. As mayor, I see my responsibility to the schools is making sure that the streets are safe, that the streets are clean, that it's a situation where there are living wage jobs for the families who are sending their children to our schools, so that we can focus on the housing and the family side of the equation, so that when those students go to school, they have the environment and the quite frankly, the educational spirit that they need to be focused on what they need to do to advance their education. So it is a two-way street in terms of a partnership, but the schools, I'm not an educator. I'm not a professional educator. I cannot tell educators how to teach. I wouldn't do that. What I would do as your mayor is make sure that all of the other resources that are necessary to make our quality of life as residents in this community are strong, both at home and at school.
Clearly, there's issues at the Akron Public Schools. There's clearly issues. There's something wrong when you have a board who selects a superintendent to lead this community who went, thank you so much, who grew up in this community to lead these schools, and after 2 years, they get rid of them. That's unbelievable and not a good way to do business. I am sorry, that is wrong. And we have to do a much better job of doing that. Our children only have one opportunity to get an education. If you have children in school, they're only going to be 10 one year, and they're going to be 11 the next year. So you got to make sure when they're 10, they're getting the type of education that they deserve. I'm not an educator, and everybody talks about getting involved with the schools. You have a board, and you can't overrule what the board wants to do. But I will tell you this much. I will not stand by and see kids not get a good education just because they cannot get it together. I will not let that happen. It must be going out. That's short. I will not let that happen. And what I will be to do, and I would hate to do this, but I would not hesitate to do it. You might have to do it like you did in Cleveland, and the mayor's office had to take over the schools to make it better. I would hope it would never come to that. I would hope it would never come to that. But if I still see the kind of shenanigans that I see now, I will not hesitate. Because young African Americans, young white children, young poor children, immigrant children depend on public schools. If they're not functioning right, we are doing those people a disservice.
Room voice. Next question has to do with safety. With crime on the rise, what is your plan for safety?
Can you use the mic, please? Answer the question.
Sorry.
With crime on the rise.
Thank you. With crime on the rise, the question to the candidates is, what would you do? What is your plan for safety? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. If you go to our website, we have a well thought out plan for public safety here in the city of Akron. I co-chair public safety for the city of Akron. And one of the things that we've recently done was to bring in legislation to put dash cameras in the police cars. It's something that the community wanted, it's what was needed, and they have in the past. We can go back and forth why they weren't there, but they'll be there by June, and that's the most important thing. We can talk about transparency, but this will add to the transparency that the people are asking for. Our plan calls for, and I've said this for the last 7 years, is putting substations in the neighborhood. We put the substations in the neighborhood, you will watch crime go down, but it only goes down when those police officers have a relationship in those neighborhoods. They need to be able to be in those neighborhoods. If you look at our website, we've been talking about this from day one. We're not just jumping into it. We've been talking about this since day one. They have to do the parking walks. Our officers have to get back on the bikes. They have to have a relationship with our elders. When I think about the elders in the neighborhood that I grew up in, that most of my friends still live in and their grandparents still live in, I think about Grandma Grundy, who is about to turn 100 years old. And she will call me every other day about the shooting in the neighborhood in the middle of the afternoon. And then Billy has to go and get her off the floor because she's sitting on the floor and somebody had to come and get her up and she couldn't get back up. This goes on in our neighborhoods. My house has been shot up. This goes on in our neighborhoods. So when we talk about public safety, we have to be intentional about it, or we're just putting a Band-Aid on something that is hemorrhaging. If we do not focus on putting our officers in these neighborhoods and having real meaningful relationships with our neighbors, with our children, we will continue to have these issues. The children and our young people aren't talking to the officers because there's no trust there. You build trust and relationships by being there.
She's right. Almost every point. I don't know about the substations though, but I like the idea. The trust issue, that's huge. I'm 41 now, but I grew up then. When the cops came around, I'm suspicious. Why are you here? Even though it's not for me, I'm like, why are you here? That's a long time. Okay, this has been going on. Okay, so building trust and building transparency is huge. We do need to get officers back on the bikes, walk your feet. We need more than 10 who have community outreach. That's probably going to be brought up. Every officer needs to have, or be a part of that program. Okay, we need to also have our officers train in SEL, social emotional learning, de-escalation techniques. We need to make sure that they're involved with our community. And I would like to have more transparency, like I said before, and the bikes as well that I mentioned. So that's a start. That'd be a huge start. But from where I come from, whenever cops come around, I'd be like, "Why are you here?" Never like, "Oh, you're going to help me." Completely opposite with the fire engine show up. Like, "Oh, you're here to help." But that's a PR thing. If you have communication, transparency, actually, if I don't know officers' names that have to actually go through my neighborhood, I have no idea, no clue. I do remember one time in the trash shop, a cop came up, rolled his window down. Who are you? What are you doing? To me, I'm like, dude, I live here. Like, that was our interaction. Like, is that what we want? You want to keep on doing that? That's been going on for years. I'm 41 right now. For years. So how do we change that? How do we change that? There's some of the things that I brought up, the same thing that Sarah brought up as well. We need to work on that.
So, also want to plug my website. If you go online, you can read our Safer Together plan, which is a comprehensive approach to public safety. The very most basic thing is that everyone in our community deserves to have trust in our police. And that requires building trust between police and the Black community. For decades and decades and decades, we have looked the other way and not confronted this issue head on. The last 3 years, the 3 years I've been on council, we have been forced to confront this issue head on because of tragedies that have happened. And we have worked and worked and worked, and many people in this room have worked. 62% of residents work, and we got issues had passed. And it's one step to building trust between police and our community. But when we talk about community relations, when we talk about building trust between police and community, the Westside Block Clubs have a wonderful neighborhood response team officer. They recently renamed it to Community Engagement Team Response Officer. But we have 450 officers in our department. We have 250 patrol officers, roughly. And we have 10 officers that we have said are our community engagement officers who don't have to go call for their 10-hour shift. We have to make sure every one of those officers in our patrol are able to spend part of their time doing that work, because that is the time that you can spend building relationships. And then beyond that, we have to focus on the upstream causes of violence. Because by the time a young person pulls out a weapon and fires it, so many things have gone wrong in their life. And that's where I go back to connecting those young people to experiences outside of the classroom that will help busy building the things that will help them be successful in life, instead of leading them into things that will put them in danger. So that is our comprehensive plan, but safety is the most basic thing. Without safety, you cannot do anything else in a community.
So I think when we look at public safety, we need to look at it from a community approach, because our communities know best the issues that are present in our own neighborhoods. My plan calls for a citywide neighborhood ambassador program, because I think if we're going to talk about community policing, then we actually need to have the community do it. So with this community policing model, we piloted a neighborhood ambassador program through the Great Streets Initiative here on Copley Road. People told us, seeing people from their neighborhood walking up and down, checking in on businesses door to door, providing a safe and clean and welcoming environment, that's something that they wanted to see continue. I want to bring that to all of Akron and make sure that every neighborhood and every citizen, every business owner feels safe where they live. And I believe that we have to implement a new community services unit with the APD. Look, we need to see boots on the ground. We need to have officers know the people who live in their neighborhoods. Our young men and women don't need to be nameless. They need to have a relationship. And before we can build trust, then we have to meet that trust deficit ourselves as a city. Issue 10 was a good first step, but we see with the implementation and the treatment of a young black man named Amokai Akola, how can we build trust with the black community when we won't even seat the black community in the lens of our young black men who are disproportionately targeted? We have to make sure that we are meeting the trust gap by standing in it ourselves.
Next question, we'll start out with Keith.
Well, I think the one common thread here is absolutely the bedrock, and that's trust. Trust within the community and trust within the police department. If we're going to solve crime, it has to be a mutual effort. It cannot be a one-way street. It has to be a mutual effort. The citizens in the city have to feel safe. They have to feel respected and protected, as well as the ladies and gentlemen on the force. They have to feel safe. They have to feel respected and also protected. By protected, I mean that there's input from the community to help them do their job. One of the things that I'm very proud of that I put together is the Police and Community Engagement Fund. That's a fund that was stood up so that the ladies and gentlemen who patrol our streets and also make us safe from the emergency side of the services, that they have a resource that they can go out and we can give them financial resources to sit down with young people, have a pizza with them, something as simple as that. That's not me in a Pollyanna idea. That's me sharing with you what police officers said they do now. But the problem is they can only do so much because they have to pay for that out of their own pocket. This fund was established to be able to create resources so that those officers, those ladies and gentlemen who protect us, can have those kind of positive engagements with young people. There's nothing better than sitting down and getting to know who is in your community, because that eliminates a lot of issues. It eliminates a lot of fears. But what it does is it helps to build that core of trust. And without that, anything we talk about is just not going to have traction. We have to trust one another, and we have to make sure that it's a transparent trust and everybody's at the table.
Public safety is also important. No one can question that. And you have to have a department that is representative of the community. Right now, 11% of the police department is African American. maybe almost 30% of the city is African American. That goes to show you that there's an issue just with that alone. We need to come up with ways to increase that number. I have made my career on public safety. When I was president of NAACP, we sued the city to make sure that they hired police and fire, and they did that. Since I've been on the city council, I was concerned with the fact that when people turned in a complaint, it wasn't taken. Believe it or not, it was not taken. The complaint was not taken at all. And that's why I lobbied and worked hard to get the police auditor position in place. And now that position needs to be strengthened. But I can tell you this much. When the Department of Justice came in here after the Jalen Walker situation, which is a terrible situation, and my heart goes out to that family. And I have a son who's African American. And I used to always worry when he left the house, was he going to make it home sometime? I was concerned about that. But we have to make sure that the department is representative of the people of this community. We got to make sure that we get people who want to be police to sign up to be police. We have to get people more involved from our community who want to be a policeman. It is so important in order to change what goes on downtown.
Well, first of all, I also have a comprehensive plan on my website. It's joshgets.us, like Josh gets us, because I get you with a dime. All right. But also, I want you to remember when you get in the voting booth, remember this: Josh Schaefer will make Akron safer. Please remember that in the voting booth. Look, I'm sure you've heard that the definition of insanity, right, is trying something again and expecting a different result. So if you don't feel safe, why would you vote for anybody else here at this table who has gotten us into the safety position we're in now? Okay, first of all. Second of all, I would expand police reform. Shamus wants the police to police themselves. I don't think that police should be on the Police Reform Commission, and I believe that the Police Reform Commission should have termination powers. And finally, we are going to defund the war on drugs, and we're going to refund mental health care, we're going to refund addiction care, we're going to stop locking up our family members and our friends and our relatives and our neighbors for being mentally ill. We're going to get people health care and treatment. And finally, we're going to decriminalize marijuana, because it's about time. We know that the black community is disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. By decriminalizing marijuana, we're giving time to our officers, to our prosecutors, to our judges to go ahead and take care of the harder crime. So that's my plan, and it's very comprehensive. Visit joshgets.us for more details.
Okay. Keep this up. The question reads as follows concerning housing. Why does the city insist on new construction in swampy areas, both at White Pond and down in the valley, when there are vacant lots and abandoned homes existing?
One word: money. That's about as simple as that. And I want to take a second, and I did apply to be, Akron Cop. I passed the test, and I got accepted in. And I'm also, my B says no, but I'm gonna still show up and run. Because I'm really about. You got to be about it. So I'll do that when the time comes. Marco is right. We need people to actually show up in front of people, police officers. But for the housing, simple, like I said, it's money. Plain and simple. I don't know why, if it goes beyond me, why we're not focused on our actual, inner city community instead of trying to push the newcomers out. It's really confounding me. Like, why would we give the 15-year tax abatement? Just follow the money, like the comments say. It's really that simple. I can come out and say, well, it's because the city doesn't care about people. I can say, comes out here and say that, X, Y, Z, but it really is. It just goes back to money. They don't want to invest in, the right community. Like, I have to ask you, I have my grandma's house on Toad Street. There's a house that's been sitting there vacant since '08. It's not been torn down. No care is given. I have to go up there. We have to cut the grass. We have to, watch after it. Like, why are we not tearing that down and repurposing that for people to move in and make housing affordable? Like, just think about it. There's no money in it. So what do I care? That's the first thing that comes to mind. That's why we're doing this. Is there's no money in it. But there is money, there's stability in bringing people back into our inner city. And having somebody who can, actually live in a house. There's a lot of people my age and under, we can't even afford a house. We're just priced right out of it. And we're still going to be living in our parents' basements. Like, that's serious. That is real deal. That is serious. In order to get a house right now, it's got to be by hook or by crook. And that is real. Go ask people my age, 40 and below. Just go out and do it.
Yes, sir. I think you took the question from me, because I was talking about how we need to stop spending all of our city time focusing on developments on the outskirts when we have all of this land in our neighborhoods. But the answer to your question is because it's easy. Because there are developers who want to go and take a piece of land that's right by the highway and that they think they'll be able to turn into something special, right? And we'll take the $750,000. So I was here, I think if many of you were here last November when we had a meeting about Wayne, right? We found out about it last May. The city has spent about a year working with the developer putting together this proposal. I spent all summer trying to get the word out about it, and slowly over time, people started reaching out and sharing comments and telling you, hey, I think you guys need to look into this further. I think the justifications and the answers on traffic are not quite to our liking, to the point that we had 200 people in this room. And 2 weeks later, 10 days later, council voted to approve this land sale. We have to change the way our process works. That meeting should happen at the beginning. Because it's better for the people, and it's also better for the developer. They're going to spend a year putting this thing together, only to get all this opposition at the end. We have all this land in our city. We have such an opportunity. The development that's happened with the tax abatement has been it's been where the housing market is actually doing okay. And so that's why I've committed on our website, on our Housing Together plan, to making our tax abatement a progression. So in neighborhoods where the housing market isn't working, it should be 100% in 15 years. In the neighborhoods where it is working, that is leaving money on the table.
So the reason why there were 200 people in this room and then 2 weeks later the vote happened and went the way it did is because our city has a bad habit of crystallizing a plan in writing and then bringing it to the community and calling it engagement. That's not how you do it. The engagement actually has to happen first. So we start there. But the question said, why are we focused on these areas where I started my campaign, and you can see this on our website. I started with saying, we're going to focus on infill housing. Because the reason why, though, we have so many of our neighborhoods that look like broken cones without enough teeth is because our zoning laws are antiquated and historically discriminatory. The reason why you keep seeing so many vacant lots, look, you can walk over on Delia Avenue right now. On the west side of Delia, you won't find one vacant lot. But you cross Storer Avenue, you're going to count 13 within the span of a few city blocks. But the reason why that continues to happen is because our zoning is not updated. When these neighborhoods are zoned only single family, when they should be zoned for mixed use zoning, because that would actually provide a myriad of housing options which people of all stripes could afford. And we're not talking about a high-rise next to a single-family home. We're talking about mid-rise buildings, multiplexes, townhomes, row homes, accessory dwelling units, tiny homes, container homes. Look, we can actually give Akron a housing landscape where everyone can afford to live and where we can actually grow our population and attract people here to our city. But we have to be willing to do the real work in zoning reform. That's the kind of change I'm talking about, and that's the change I will bring.
I gotta tell you, the whole White Pond situation is screaming for this city to do, first and foremost, a comprehensive zoning, a comprehensive land use plan. The trees are coming down. You're not going to replace the green that was there. And for anyone on the city council to stand here and say, I'll take the $750,000 for a $7 million appraised piece of property is not good government. I'm going to tell you, I don't understand that whole situation because on one hand, you have Summit Lake. Summit Lake is a fantastic program. Why? Because they went to the neighbors in that community and said, what do you want? What do you want in this neighborhood? And it has become a fantastic program. It has attracted grant dollars from outside of the community, and it's going to be a beautiful neighborhood. The challenge there will be not to gentrify that neighborhood for the ladies and gentlemen who've lived there and they want to stay in it. We got to make sure we're smart there. But now, you come over across the other side, and you're talking about White Pond. Well, it comes before the council, and they say it's okay. Until they get caught, that it's not okay by you folks who live here. No one asked you until it was too late. So why can't we do a consistent land use plan across the city so that we make sure these kinds of debacles don't happen? The fact that that property sat vacant for 20 years doesn't mean a thing. The problem is, it's an asset that could be developed. Develop it smart. Just because an out-of-town developer came in here waving some dollars doesn't mean that we have to say yes to them. What it means is, they have to do it our way.
Well, the White Pond situation is handled altogether wrong. That information came to council in January of that year. Okay, no, it came in January. Let me say 2 months ago, okay? So, it came in January when we knew they wanted to do this project and we talked to the developer. So we knew that. So from that period to whenever, then when people start coming out, then people start changing their mind. But we should have done a better job. We should have a program called Zen. We can put it to the community. When we want to do these type of projects, it's a computer-based or mobile phone app that you can let the city know how you feel about different issues. And if we had that, we could have made a much better decision. Summit Lake is a prime example of what we can do when we do it right. We're going to tear down Summit Lake, and we're going to build 239 homes. But if you live in that neighborhood, and rest assured, if you live in that neighborhood and we move you out, you will have the first opportunity to go back into that property and live by the lake. You will not be displaced. You will not be displaced. And that will not happen. I'm chairman of the AMHA. I serve on that, and I will make sure I can take it to the bank. The people who move out of there will be able to move back and live in that property and live next to that lake. And we will not bring the people from the outside in on that property. Thank you.
Can anyone hear me? Okay. Well, I'm the real candidate of change. You're not going to get change out of a Republican from the current administration, okay? First of all. Second of all, let's talk about White Pond. Let's talk about it. Everybody knows where I stand because I put an article in the Beacon Journal. I'm against White Pond. I'm against deforestation. Let's talk a little bit about environmental injustice. That means that people who live in black neighborhoods are disproportionately affected by deforestation, by water issues, by lead pipes. But we can fix that through a green jobs economy. We're going to fix all of this and make our city green again. And also, we should not be giving out $7 million, okay? $7 million in order to give rich people tax breaks for 15 years, okay? 15 years of free taxes. Let's give taxes to the poor people, to the middle class people. Let's lift people off with tax breaks, not trickle down economics.
vacant lot next to your house or a vacant house in your street. It is what has been going on in the city longer than I've been on council. When you walk down certain streets and every other house is vacant, we have a problem here in our city. My aunt and my uncle grew up on Ruth Avenue. We canvassed Ruth Avenue. Every other house on that street is empty. So how do we address the housing crisis here in our city? Well, we have to address it here in our neighborhoods. We can't keep talking about building population, but we are not focusing in on our neighborhoods. We have residents who have been taking care of vacant lots next to them, want to buy them, and they get hit with all the red tape as to why they can't own them. So we got to cut through all the red tape. We have to take care of these neighborhoods. And again, like I've said in other forums, if you can afford to live in a $2,300 a month townhouse, not own it, rent it, you can afford to leave here at any time. So why not focus on our neighborhoods and focus on all these empty lots across the city, either allow the residents who've been begging to buy them, allow them to buy them so they can have that ownership, but we have to focus on these houses where people have lived 20, 30, 40, 50 years and they'll not have to beg a housing repair grant program to help them fix a roof, fix the plumbing, fix the electrical. That's what we're dealing with right now. Under our administration, it will be a top priority. We will revamp the whole entire housing and neighborhood development department because it is overdue, it is outdated, and it is antiquated, and we will be fixing it.
Time is winding down, folks. A few more questions as we want to go all down the panel. Next question. University of Akron costs $12,000 per year and daycare is $1,000 a month. They are the same. What can we do to help parents that work hard pay for daycare when the American Rescue money is done? And this applies to those who don't qualify for Title 20. We will start responses with the sentence.
Thank you very much. Okay. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Child care is one of the biggest barriers to people being able to work. Right? And we have a tremendous opportunity. And I'm going to steal an idea here, but I've been telling everybody where I got it from. Dodd Disler, who's the head of Metro, right? Metro Bus. There are people who take the bus downtown and then they transfer to get to a child care they can afford and transfer back downtown and then go out to Fairlawn to work and then have to reverse that whole route. Right? That is something that takes hours to do. It makes someone's life that much harder if they don't have a car. The same drive in a car is just a few more minutes. Right? If we had affordable child care right next to the transit center downtown, not only does it help the people who are transferring, but it helps the people who work downtown. And we're trying to get people working back downtown. Because we spent all this money building it, but COVID made that so much more difficult. Now the reason I said I stole the idea is because I talked about building a collaborative model of governing in our city. And Dr. Disler has been going everywhere sharing this idea with anyone who will listen. And it is our responsibility as city government, when we hear ideas like that, to take those and run with them. And there are ideas like that all across this community. Right? There is money we can go get at the federal level that will help pay for things like this. Not just this, but what they call transit-oriented development. So we are smart about building mixed-use development all throughout our transit corridors. This is something we can do that will make a tangible difference. It will help people work, and it will help our kids get better educational outcomes too.
So I'm certainly in favor of transit-oriented development, but let's look at some things that we can do hands on the ground right now. Look, we have a lot of qualified child care professionals here in Akron, and many of them are looking to either build or expand their businesses in their residences. But the process, when you talk about going through the bureaucracy and the red tape, look, I know what happens in planning commissions, and we often have people who are qualified who have to jump through so many hoops in order to give parents a viable and a close child care center right where they live. We need to make it easier on them. And then part of my platform, when I talk about bringing real change to Akron, is moving the city forward. Look, the COVID has shown us the days of having full office buildings is over. We need to understand and lean into the real realities of remote work. We need to have more opportunities for parents who have to raise children and often who have to raise grandchildren. We need to provide more opportunities for them to work and earn a living in their own homes. We have to move Akron forward in order to challenge the problems that we've been facing for decades.
We talked earlier about economic development. This is a prime example of how we collectively as a community could work together, make affordable child care a reality. We do have a lot of great professionals in that field here in the community. If we could look at ideas, new ideas like incentivizing businesses who provide child care for their employees, that would be one way of approaching the problem. How do we help those ladies and gentlemen who are skilled and trained and able to provide those resources? Can we provide them with the space to have their daycare and their child care programs? Anything and everything that would create a cooperative, community-wide emphasis going forward, with the understanding that the overriding umbrella is safety for everyone involved, because we're talking about entrusting your child or your grandchild with somebody for a daycare program. It has to be absolutely above reproach going forward. There are some creative ways that we can address it to expect the city to be able to afford child care for everybody. Just no one can afford that number because it is so expensive. But if we look at how we collectively as a community can take, quite frankly, to use a coin term, a village approach to being able to offer child care for all of our families and neighbors, I think that will be a smart way to go.
Generally, when people who want to start a daycare in their home, there's a process through the planning department. And generally, what happens is the people who are successful in getting a daycare in their home are people who know their neighbors. And they go around and they talk to their neighbors and they tell them what they want to be doing. And they let them know how many cars will be coming every day. If they see a car parked in front, they can let them know what's going on. And that's the way that you work to get around that situation and have affordable daycare. Nobody talks about $1,000 yet. Nobody can say how you're going to come with that money to pay for that, but you're going to have a job. You're going to have resources. But one way to kind of keep it down is to work with people in the community who open up their home for daycare, who can afford, who can do it at a much lower cost, and it can be more affordable for people who need that type of service.
Well, look, I don't know where you're going to daycare for $1,000, but that's a heck of a bargain. Because my little baby, her daycare costs $1,300, so. But I'd like to start by, I guess, stealing an idea from Shamus about using our community learning centers. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, all right? Maybe we can use our community learning centers to have daycare as a part of the Akron Public Schools at a free or discount, that all people who live in Akron should have access to daycare through the Akron Public Schools at our community learning centers. That's my idea. Short and sweet.
You got the space. You got the space.
So there's a whole type of thing. Most of us were not afforded the opportunity to have parents or grandparents watch our children so we can go to work or school. As someone who's a teen mom, I was afforded my parents to watch my two daughters while I was in school. Most don't have that. So when we talk about qualifying for Title 20, we're talking about red tape out of this world. We're talking about parents who quit their jobs because they don't qualify for Title 20. So now they'll stay home with their children because they don't qualify. So we have to make sure that there are resources there for them. And this is a great question because it's never come up before. We have to make sure that the resources are there to help those parents who want to work. We can talk about getting on the bus all day, but if they don't qualify for Title 20, they're going to quit their jobs. This is what they do. They have to, because there's no way that they can do it. So we as a city, this is a conversation that we collectively have to have. This is a great opportunity for us to collectively have that conversation about how it is affecting parents, most of them single moms, from being able to work. So when people think they just don't want to work, well, it's hard for them to work because they don't qualify. So they end up staying home. So this is a great question.
So this is a question that hits me personally. I actually have two of my kids here right now. I don't usually see my wife during the week because of it. She has to work night. I work during the days. I race back here from Cleveland. She takes off the APS. You know, so I only see her except for maybe 40 minutes. And that's if I'm not coaching. If I'm not, my 10-year-old is watching, you know, the two little ones until I get home. Like a half an hour gap there sometimes. Okay? So, you know, I think that providing or expanding our recreation department to try and maybe offer some pre-K services, maybe helping people jump through those hoops, like step up to quality. There's a 5-star rating there, as you know, bureaucracy, red tape. If somebody from the mayor's office can provide some of those services to help you jump through those hoops, see what kind, you know, what kid or how many kids you can have in your house. There's all kind of requirements, and you know, hoop jumping, I like to call it. Maybe we can start to ease some of those, you know, those requirements where, you know, like I said, like my wife's at work, I'm here, I got, you know, a lot of jumping. You know, not a lot of people have, you know, grandparents and other family members. So, you know, and on top of that, my wife can't take a full-time job because my youngest is still in preschool. Who's going to get her? You know what I mean? So that whole economic aspect is there. Because if you were to get a full-time job, your daycare bill will erode half of that anyway. That's a fact. That's you know, goes back to economics. So I think providing service and help at the mayor's office to provide, you know, help jumping through those hoops, get a step up to quality, see what grants we can get you to make it so you can provide the daycare services and more daycare at home and whatnot. It's going to be beneficial. That's what I'm
I follow in your footsteps.
Yes, one last question. So we're going to give everybody 2 minutes for closing remarks, and then we'll end the night. Sure.
So I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. We are standing on the precipice of one of the greatest decisions that we will make as a city. And it's what direction we will take to either move us forward, to keep us where we are, or to see a continued steady decline. We cannot let this opportunity for change pass us by. That's why I'm running in this race. Because I believe that every neighborhood and every community deserves to be championed, and that neighborhoods and families that have been overlooked for so long deserve to be prioritized. My administration is going to put our communities first and move our city forward. Because we have not only so much talent here within our ranks, but we have a generation of talent abroad that it's time for us to call home. So I'm making you this pledge this evening, that if you are tired of the same old status quo, if you're tired of seeing the same promises made election cycle after election cycle, but not be fulfilled, when you vote for Mark Greer on May 2nd, you are going to see the change you've been waiting for come to all of Akron. And I will not rest until Akron's potential becomes its promise to every family, to every neighborhood, and every community.
Okay.
Do we want to go with that? Yep. Jeff?
First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight because I said at the beginning, this is community. This is how this city moves forward. And this is why this city has a bright future, because all of you ladies and gentlemen care, and collectively we can move it forward in a very positive way. I want to share something with you that I've heard throughout the course of this campaign. When people ask, well, what about Jeff Wilhite for mayor? Well, I hear things like, well, he's too nice of a guy. Really? That's all you got. He's too nice of a guy. Let me just share with you, don't mistake the kindness for weakness. Because I will go to the mat for every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, in this room when the time calls for it. But we have got to get away from all the name calling, all the negative, all the silos. We classify everybody in so many ways, we can't move forward. I've got over 30 years of my life vested in this community professionally, and I'm going to use that because I know I can bring people to the table. I know I can bridge gaps. Look, here's the deal. If we try something collectively as a community and we fail, blame me. But if we succeed, what could we accomplish? Moving that needle forward in a positive direction. I'll take 5% of something every day over 100% of nothing. So on May 2nd, I'm asking you to give me that opportunity to be your champion as your mayor on May 2nd. And if you would, if you want to learn more about me, go to wilhite4akron.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be here with you tonight, and I hope you'll consider me on May 2nd.
Again, thank you so much for coming out tonight on this rainy night. And as we try to move our city forward, let's make sure that we select someone who's been in the trenches, someone who knows the problems, someone who knows the issues, someone who has made changes in this community. Police auditor is one change that we've made. We're making another change with the EMS service because we don't have enough paramedics in this community. And that's why we just hired a new chief of the fire department that's going to help us tackle that very important issue because so many people in poor neighborhoods and even other neighborhoods depend on EMS as their line of medical call they make. We must work on lowering water rates and sewer rates. I have a plan. Look at my website. Anybody has a website? Look at everybody's website. We talk about a plan that will lower water and sewer rates for everyone. We also have a history of working to attract businesses here. I was on the negotiating team to make sure that Goodyear came. I was on the negotiating team to make sure that Firestone, Bridgestone came here. I was here, we got Rooshley to come here. And a number of other businesses. I've been at the table. I know how to cut the deals. I know how to make things work and make these companies come to Akron and provide jobs for our residents. So remember on May the 2nd, remember Marco Somerville for mayor of the city of Akron.
Thanks so much, everyone, for having us. Please visit my Facebook, Josh Schaefer for mayor. I also have a website, believe it or not. It's joshgets.us. Josh gets us with an I. All right. So you heard a lot tonight about change, and I want to talk to you. All right. Everyone wants new, bold, fresh ideas. Okay? So let's get started. Let's get started on the fresh ideas. Let's get started on my thriving green jobs economy. Let's get started on decriminalizing marijuana. Let's get started on replacing the lead poison. Let's get started on the clean air, the clean land, the reforestation. If you want fresh ideas and you want change, let's get started. Vote for me. All right.
Thank Josh for a good time, I tell you. coming out this evening. I am running because of you. I'm running because this city deserves someone who will put people first. We have an administration who elected their first mayor 187 years ago. Where has that gotten us? Where are we now? I am running because the neighborhood I represent is this city, is this community, and I'm running because of that. As someone who was a teen mom, by many accounts, I'm not even supposed to be here. But God had a different plan for me. That I know. If you want someone who's going to be honest and transparent and not circumvent the process to sign consulting agreements, I'm your person. If you want someone who will come and have a conversation with you, even when we have to have hard conversations, honest conversations about the direction we are going, I'm the person for you. I do not expect to get along with everybody, but we still should be able to sit at the table and have a conversation about what is best for this city. And if you believe that, I'm the person for you. So on Tuesday, May the 2nd, I hope that I will have your vote.
So, pretty much if you are happy with what you've been getting for the past 30-some years, do not vote for me. Do not, okay? Absolutely not. I am not in this to be necessary mayor. I'm in this to fix the problem. That's the only reason. When I found out who was running back in November, I'm like, yeah, I know those guys. You know what? Let's do something about that. So I went ahead and put my money where my mouth is. Okay? Follow you on Brick Road, I'm kidding. All right? You have my card, my phone number's on that. So I talk about transparency. You can call me, it goes right here. Right there. Okay? There's nobody hiding. Nobody else. So you give me a chance. I close gaps every day. I'm a school teacher. Okay? I have kids show up just because I coach. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing for our city. If you want somebody who's approachable, who's critically thinking, who will get things done, and I know that I can't please everybody all the time. Okay? And I'm not going to be up here trying to sell you something. I'm not going to go away if elected. You know, I'm one of you. You're one of me. Plain and simple. Okay? Everyone was saying we don't have leadership. We have nobody who's young, who's ready and capable to take the reins. I showed up. I'm here. Okay? So call me for task. All right? So please, on May 2nd, consider Keith Mills as next mayor.
Just for the record, the phone number on my card goes to my phone just like Keith's. Thank you all for being here tonight. We have been going all over the city having these forums. We've been knocking on doors. There's only 40 days left in this election. It's almost over. I'm a little bit tired. Today was the first day of Ramadan, so I haven't had any coffee or water all day. But the sun just went down, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to dinner. But I am more energized than ever. Because every room I go into in this city, I see people who inspire me. I see people who are doing amazing things. I've been joking with folks that we have a 190,000 person football team in this city. And everybody has a role to play. And when I talk about building a bold shared vision for our city, it's not just talk. It is something that we can do together. If we get more connected, more coordinated, more strategic. I'd encourage you to look at those 4 plans on our website, because there are things that everybody can get behind, basic things that we've all been talking about up here today. But I kind of get the same rap as Jeff. He's a nice young man, but can he get it done? I have a track record on council of standing for what I believe in and getting things done. So on May 2nd, I would ask that you support me. But most of all, I would ask that you believe in a city we can all build together. Thank you.
Before my close out, let me give us all another opportunity to collectively come together. It was mention both of the Crips are now state champs. Let's not forget our Hogan Knights. So Sunday, this Sunday, there's going to be a parade at 2 o'clock. So we have another opportunity for community to come together. That's what we do. So I just want to mention that. And let's give our candidates another round of applause.
We do have some voter registration information out on the table. If you are looking for that or know anybody who needs it, please grab it on the way out. Thank you so much.